G'day everybody, it's Jason Pitman here. So I'm the Biodiversity Coordinator here at Perth NRM and I manage the Swan River Recovery Program. As Karen mentioned, we're actually going into the third stage of the Swan River Recovery. Just going to bring up a bit of a presentation because I'd like to demonstrate a little bit of the history of the program as well as what we're expecting or hoping coming from this third stage. Just to give you a little bit of history about the Swan River Recovery Program. So it's been running for 4 years now. So back in stage one, the Swan River Recovery Program came out from a real push to eradicate an invasive weed called hydrocotyle in the middle Swan rivers. And through that, we were able to get a little bit of support through the National Land Care Program, and we coordinated a local steering group. And over the year, we ended up supporting the treatment and the eradication and promotion of an eradication strategy for hydrocotyle. But we also supported 7 hectares of wetland and riparian revegetation to improve habitat condition along the river system. We also conducted a research project into iron scales and rehabilitation around Biodiversity wetland. We also were able to treat 4 hectares of hydrocotyle in the riparian zones along the river system. And this was all possible with this support and the partnership with Circle, Friends of Bull Creek and Biodiversity Wetland Interest Group. Then we went on to stage 2, and this is actually where I came in. So I've got a little bit more connection to the second stage. What we did, or what Perth NRM was able to do, is we received funding through the the Department of Business and Industries through Caring for Your Parks program, and it was a $1 million investment with, again, continuing that focus on hydrocotyle eradication. But we also were able to grow a little bit more around our grants program and direct community action. We're now currently phasing out stage 2 of the project, of the recovery. And we were actually able to deliver some fantastic results for the system. So over the last couple of years, we've been able to implement 21 hectares of hydrocotyle weed control in the middle Canning River catchment. And we've also been able to expand that out to Amazon frogbit and actually have a control program there now too. We also conducted 8 hectares of priority reed control in other key tributaries and foreshore areas. We were able to plant around 30,000 stems in priority tributaries, such as Bull Creek and a few others. We've also been able to involve almost, over about 500 volunteers in all different discrete projects that we were able to support through our grants process. And with the support and partnership with Circle, we've now been able to do 2 research projects on upcoming priority weeds that are starting to impact the river system and looking at long-term management of those as well. We've also been able to look at drains to living streams and some of the things going on there. And one of them is a project that we're still working to implement around Nerdy Park, which is really exciting for a lot of the stakeholders involved in that. So that's just giving you a little bit of history around Swan Canning and what we've been able to do as this program matures. And we're looking at supporting more of those living drains and providing greater support for direct community action. So Swan River Recovery 3, and 4 years later, here we are for another couple of years. So Swan River Recovery 3, we've actually been able to double the investment. So it's now $2 million over the next 3 years, supported with the Australian government through the Regional Land Care Program. And given that it's a large investment, we're actually going to be designating a steering committee, which should be established in the next coming months. And there'll also be an assessment panel coupled with that as well. So stage 3. Some of the main outcomes that we're hoping to deliver over the next several years is to continue and expand our conversion of drains to living streams and other biofiltration measures to reduce nutrient and sediment runoff into the estuary. We're also looking at supporting activities in protecting, enhancing and revegetating native vegetation with a focus on the fringing vegetation within the Middle Canning area. We're also going to be supporting community delivery in local actions that benefit the river system, and this is going on to that grants process I mentioned before. We are going to be releasing some grant guidelines, budget forms and budget templates over the next 2 months. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to Perth NRM's newsletter or Facebook or other social media so that you can keep abreast of when those grants and those documents are available for the public. With the stage 3, there is also a greater emphasis on the threatened ecological community, the temperate coastal salt marsh, found within particularly the Middle Canning area. So that will be a primary focus for the program, but not so much for the community grants. But it's something good to know when you're designing your projects. There will also be an education program that will continue from the last 3 years, and there'll be greater content and opportunities to engage with students through that as well. So even though it is the Swan Canning River Recovery Program, stage 3, there is going to be a very strong emphasis on the Canning Estuary, so the Middle Canning Estuary area. So from around the Canning Bridge area going down to the Kent Street Weir. So that will be our primary focus. So if you've got a project within that area, I highly recommend you keep informed about the future grants, and I look forward to seeing what the community comes out with. So when it comes to the designing your grants for Swan Canning 3, there are a few things that we will be looking for. One, there will be strategic projects which will primarily focus around living drains and tech and a few others. And then there's the community direct action. So strategic projects look at for those living drains, threatened ecological community sites, and areas of strategic priority for the integrity of the river system. Other areas are riparian zones that may not necessarily fit as a tech or anything like that, but are incredibly valuable and important and loved by the community. If you've got work that in a tributary or a wetland that fringes on the river system, I highly recommend that you subscribe and wait out for these grants to be released. So we're hoping to open the grants around June, July 2020, but again, we'll let you all know when they are open. So I just want to echo what Deb was mentioning through State NRM and what Dan was mentioning. There are definite characteristics that we look for when it comes to a successful grant application. And one of those is partnerships. So start having those conversations with your local governments or potentially other utilities or land managers to start getting that conversation and that dialogue going. It can be a simple phone call or email, but I recommend starting to have those conversations now. Another part, particularly with Swan Canning 3, given that we are going to be running an education program, is speak to local schools, both primary, high school, public and private. You'd be surprised at how quickly schools will jump up to provide support, and it is a fantastic educational opportunity, particularly for primary school students. The fourth part, particularly for Swan Canning, is to make that link very clear, concise and apparent in how it's going to improve the integrity of the river system, whether that be from water quality, so such as biofiltration or nutrient stripping, all the way up to increasing biodiversity, or even as something similar, simple as debris removal or erosion control. So please make that incredibly clear when it comes to your grant application. We will be releasing guidelines, and again, continuously refer to those as well. And the last point is community connectedness. So actually start reaching out to the community. There are a lot of different community groups. Some of them are incredibly small. Some of them are incredibly large. So reach out and see if you can actually look at your community direct action. Refer back to the WA volunteer calculator to actually help with your budget and looking at some of the in-kind contributions that people provide to these projects. It can be very, very easy to blow out that cost, but as Dan and Deb have also mentioned, it can be very easy to also undervalue that contribution. So look out for those kind of resources, and also don't be afraid to give us a call. We are here to support you guys. And if there are elements of your guidelines, that don't make sense, or you do have questions, please give us a call. And early on in the process, if it's left late, that can really keep us on our toes, and we may not necessarily be able to answer the questions as thoroughly as you're liking, or provide you the information that you're necessarily looking for. So that's what we're here for. Please give us a call via email, and we're more than happy to help you as much as possible. So that's what we're looking for. Now it's just a matter of wait and see for when these grants are open, and I can't wait for everyone to jump up in arms and have your applications ready and submit at the press of a button. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's from me, and I believe we're going into a Q&A session now. So thank you very, very much, and thank you very much to all the panel, to Dan and Deb for your insights, and there's nothing that you had mentioned that I wouldn't echo to the broader community out there as well.